Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of 2025 in our Decoding AI in Healthcare podcast series. I'm your host, Hetvi Shah, and it is an absolute honor to kick off this year with episode 31, featuring a topic that is at the heart of intersection between technology and medicine, which is actually bridging the gap in AI literacy and education for medical professionals. As the pace of innovation is in healthcare accelerates, the ability to understand and utilize artificial intelligence is no longer a luxury but a necessity. And to explore this critical topic, we have two remarkable thought leaders with us today. First, let me introduce Dr. Melvin Speisman, an accomplished expert in academic internal medicine with a distinguished career spanning over 25 years. Dr. Melvin has mentored countless physicians and earned a recognition as a leader in both medicine and medical education. In 2024, he completed advanced certifications in AI from institutions like Harvard, MIT, and Northwestern University, and he is currently enrolled in Stanford's AI in Healthcare program. He's also the president of the American College of Artificial Intelligence and Medicine. Doctor is at the forefront of integrating AI into medical practice. And joining him is Dr. Amit Kumar, a pioneering consultant physician specializing in diabetology and AI in healthcare. Dr. Amit is the founder chair of Doctors AI, known for his groundbreaking contribution to precision medicine. So, together they will discuss how we can empower medical professionals to navigate and embrace the transformative potential of AI in healthcare. So, warm welcome to you both.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Hetvi, for this beautiful introduction. A warm welcome to my very good dear friend, Dr. Melvin Speisman, founder president of the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine. And a welcome back to all our viewers. I think we had a fantastic podcast last year, and this has been going on for about a year and a half now. And a new season, new year, and what a great way to start. So, welcome to this New Year episode of the Med AI podcast, Decoding AI in Healthcare. And I'm privileged to have Melvin join us today. And Melvin and myself have been interacting on a very important common ground. The question is how to get our medical professionals literate and educated on the nuances of artificial intelligence in healthcare. So, first, Melvin, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks, Amit. It's great to be here today.
So I'll dive right into the context of the topic. But before that, our audiences and especially our viewers here in India is very eager to know about you, Melvin, and the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine. So first, tell us, Melvin, about what inspired you to get into the forefront of advocating AI literacy in the clinicians, and what inspired you to build the college, as we know as the College of the Artificial Intelligence in Medicine in the US. Tell us about yourself and the college.
Well, sure, thanks. Uh, while I was at the University of Illinois College of Medicine as an assistant professor, there was a big interest in general at the institution on implementing artificial intelligence in medicine. But more importantly, like you're doing today, during the last couple of years, when they would invite a speaker to talk to the faculty, invariably, regardless of what topic it was, it seemed that they were an expert in artificial intelligence and medicine. For example, we had our researcher scholarly day, and the keynote speaker was an expert in AI and radiology. And then we had grand rounds lectures, which are for the faculty, and they topics were things like AI and gastroenterology and how it's being used in colonoscopy, or AI and oncology. And some of these people were coming in just to speak that day, brought in by the dean or the head of the Department of Medicine. And these were world renowned people that were spending their energy and time trying to figure out how to implement AI into the medical field. Well, this really inspired me to do a deep dive in this area. And like yourself, the more you try to educate yourself as a physician, and the more you get into it, then if you know we tend to be very passionate about learning and taking our knowledge to the next level and being at the cutting edge of the future of medicine. You and I are very much aligned in that way. So the more I got involved with that, the more I realized, as you did, probably at the same moment in time, which is really cool, is that we physicians need a professional organization or a society that will focus on how to use AI in medicine. Like, for example, most cardiologists in the US are members of both the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology. These are their professional societies. They pay membership dues to both. They attend both national meetings. They publish their research in both of the journals that those organizations host. Nothing like that really existed specifically for AI in medicine. There certainly were different organizations that had as a small portion of what they do some artificial intelligence, but nothing fully dedicated to that. And I realized that there was a need for this, as you did. And so we both simultaneously started similar organizations, professional societies to educate doctors about AI. And interestingly, there's a lot of enthusiasm about this amongst doctors, but most practicing physicians are quite busy and they may not have the time to like go into the level that you and I have. So I view our role as those that have fully dedicated their time to this and then will teach doctors at all levels about how to do this. So at the student level, for example, I go to various medical schools and teach the medical students about it. And I've spent the last year working on how it's being implemented into the curriculum of all 130 medical schools in the US. And this was a collaborative effort amongst many faculty across the nation and students as well. So that's the medical student level. At the resident level of education, I go to live to 5 residency programs in Chicago here, and we'll be doing others virtually that are not in Chicago to teach the resident doctors about AI. But the more important thing, which is the work that you have done wonderful things with through your doctor's AI program, is, and this is what's key, is the younger generation, they're very skilled at implementing computers into their world. But practicing physicians who are very busy, like you are mentioning, you just finished your clinic. If you're seeing 25 or 30 patients a day, which we all are, how are you going to find the time to update yourself on all the AI related? And so that's where you and I are trying to be difference makers. Uh, and so I'll just turn it back to you then to ask the next question or to jump in and follow up on my thoughts.
Yeah, so I think the topic for the day and the is the sole reason why I chose this topic is AI literacy and education for medical professionals, bridging the gap. So often, as an advocate of AI in healthcare, I have been faced with this question by medical professionals across the country here in India and in different parts of the globe. And I'm sure you will echo with this question being often asked to you as well. Just like you rightly mentioned, that in different strata of the life of a medical professional, whether he's a student, a postgraduate, a resident, or a practicing consultant or a registrar, uh, time is of essence, and this information and knowledge gap is increasing very, very fast. So, the commonest question and the most important question that I get from clinicians is and doctors is, where and how do I start with AI education? And I'm sure you must have been also asked this particular question. So, Mel, as the founder president of the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine, and with the vision that the college holds and the structured way that we want to impart education to the medical professionals, understanding their busy life, what would be your pro tip of getting started with AI education for medical professionals?
Right. Well, the pro tip, there's two. The one that's the easiest one to like really jumpstart your knowledge is to do some type of certificate program while you're still practicing and seeing patients. So, um, the ones that I know about, there are many, obviously. The ones I know about that I've done, um, that I would recommend to the audience are 8-week programs. Uh, they're generally hosted by the very well established universities. Uh, there's two major platforms. So, one platform is actually hosted from where you are in India, and it's called Emeritus. And Emeritus has many different certificate programs in general from most of the really most reputable universities. Um, but specifically to your question about AI, I did the MIT certificate program through Emeritus and the Harvard certificate program through Emeritus. Now, these are each the platform, Emeritus platform is very much standardized. And so each week you get an assignment and you watch videos and then you have to, it's not a multiple choice type question. You have to like write basically essays related to specific questions and you submit those once a week. And if you follow the very, it's like they're graded or judged on very distinct, well defined criteria in there, which are quite elaborate. But if you hit all the proper elements and do the work, uh, then at the end of the 8 weeks, you get a certificate from that institution. But more importantly, you become very knowledgeable on artificial intelligence, which is the end goal there. So I do recommend those things. They're very costly. Any Emeritus 8-week certificate program is about 3,000 US dollars, which I know could be cost prohibitive in places outside of the US, but that's what they are. I don't know if there's a different pricing where you are. So the one that's very cost effective that I'm currently enrolled in is through Coursera. Now, Coursera was started by an AI department head from Stanford who took some leave of absence and created Coursera, a company to educate anyone who couldn't physically come to Stanford. They could be where you are and take a Stanford course. And so then they started to create some certificates, like the AI certificate in medicine is you have to take 5 courses. If you take all 5 courses and you do all the proper things, submit all the projects, then at the end you get a certificate from Stanford on AI and medicine. Now that's very inexpensive. So if for those where cost is of concern, that would be a better strategy. I mean, the people teaching any of these courses that I mentioned are world renowned. They're the biggest names in AI and medicine. You mentioned those people, everyone at our level knows who they are, and they're published hundreds of papers, and they're like the gurus of AI and medicine. So that's a quick way to, in within 8 weeks, to really rapidly ramp up your knowledge level. But I want to switch to a different thought about how to just, aside from a quick, upscaling of your knowledge very quickly, the thing that's more important is lifelong learning. And I'm internal medicine, you're internal medicine, you're endocrine as well. But the thing I want to stress is you are very much a leader in the organization I've been a part of for 30 years, which is American College of Physicians, and you lead the chapter for the country of India. And I admire that so much. But the reason I bring it up is, how do I stay at the cutting edge of medicine in general, but not specifically AI, but medicine is every single year I go live to American College of Physicians annual meeting. And for 10 hours a day, 3 days in a row, I sit in on all the updates in every specialty, and the most renowned faculty in the world teach me every year what's new in medicine, mostly from New England Journal papers in an evidence-based way. And so that's how I maintain my knowledge level at the most cutting edge. I go to the conference. I'm not distracted for those 3 days with patient care. I just I'm disconnected from the craziness of trying to maintain all this patient care, and I could just focus like a laser beam on updating myself on knowledge for 3 days straight. And each year I do that, so I'm and the content is always what's new in the last 12 months. So the ACP model of lifelong learning that I'm describing to you at an annual meeting is what I've always done and works really well to keep me at the cutting edge of every aspect of medicine. So that kind of lifelong learning model we're trying to do in our American College of AI and Medicine by having a national meeting, which will be in Chicago in September. And in a similar manner, we'll just update the people who attend over 2 days on what's been new in the last 1 year, the important papers. And the people teaching each session will be reviewing all the new developments in the last 12 months in an evidence based manner. And I'm proud to say that you yourself, Dr. Amit Kumar, have agreed to teach the one on AI and endocrinology/diabetes. And I'm thrilled that you're going to come all the way from India to the US to be a speaker at our conference and to teach. So the long answer what I gave you, but the short answer is if you want a quick fix, do an 8-week certificate program. But the more important thing is lifelong learning. Become a member of a professional society like Doctors AI or American College of AI and Medicine, and go to the annual meeting every year, and then also participate through like what we're doing today, listening to podcasts. People like to get their education now through podcasts, reading or following the journal. You're going to have a journal. We're going to have a journal where we publish new things. So um, these are the ways to kind of do the lifelong learning. I think right now in January 2025, the way to do the lifelong learning, I think, is listen to podcasts. So thanks for doing these podcasts and attend the national meeting that relates to what you want to be an expert in. And so in our case, that's AI and medicine. And you and I actually both attended the one that Anthony Chang does every year. And he has a very great national meeting on AI and medicine. And this year was in Orlando. And that's a great opportunity for networking and learning. Uh, but like I told you at the beginning, there's the American Heart Association, there's the American College of Cardiology. Most cardiologists attend both conferences. I would encourage everyone listening to attend our national meeting, to attend the AI Med national meeting. I know on this particular podcast, most of the faculty that teach at Anthony Chang's conference, including Anthony, have been guests on your podcast. So um, I know that's a long-winded answer. I'm going to turn it back to you, Amit, to comment on all this stuff.
So I think the Chicago meeting is something that's going to be very exciting, and I'm sure we will be learning more about that particular meeting as we go along in the podcast and in the days to come, as Mel keeps on highlighting about what are the activities and the contents that the meeting awaits, and that's something we'll all be looking forward to. Also, for the knowledge of all our viewers and for you, Mel, yesterday, we were very privileged and honored to start India's first certificate course of artificial intelligence in medicine from Doctors AI. by the doctors and for the doctors. And this certificate course was starting it was a landmark for us because it took in a 4 to 5 months of hard work, and we started this with a fantastic faculty in collaboration with the Healthcare Sector Skill Council, which is a part of the government of India. And accreditation was from one university which is based out of Navi Mumbai, the Universal AI University. So, as I speak to you, we are starting this course. It's going to be 42 hours of learning, weekend learning, live lectures followed by recorded sessions, assessments, and we have a fantastic batch of 35 participants who are going to be taking this course as the part of the inaugural batch. The second most important aspect that we have also realized in Doctors AI, and we are trying to create a structure in which AI education can be delivered to medical professionals and medical students. So, from Doctors AI, Mel, we have created the flow of primers. And as you must have seen our activities on social media, we have conducted some exciting primers in medical colleges across the country, which is just an introducing the AI as a kind of an induction to AI to the medical students and the postgraduate students. And I'm sure you must have conducted similar events also in your country. And then comes the workshops, which we do more like a hands-on training of generative AI tools. And you go on to have then a certificate course. And then if you want to do more of a advanced certification, like you spoke about, like you have done from the MIT or Stanford, you can go for them. But the second part, which is also very intriguing, and this is again something that we need to understand, is that the life of a medical student is already quite burdened with a lot of studies. So many subjects to read in a small span of time, and then you have the practicals and your hands on clinics to learn from. So it's learning, learning all the way. And you're adding one more subject to the layer of artificial intelligence, understanding the nuances of AI and then applying it into practice and research in the field of medicine. So, my question to you, Mel, is how best do you think that AI education can be integrated into the medical curriculum? Well, this is a question that I asked to many people across the country, and I normally give them four options. So, the first option is, do you think there should be dedicated AI course which should be introduced in the medical curriculum? A. Do you feel that AI subjects should be integrated into the individual subjects? So, like, there could be a chapter of artificial intelligence in radiology, there could be a chapter of AI in dermatology and cardiology, pathology, etc. Or do you feel that there should be exclusive hands on workshops only during the medical curriculum? Or should it be just left as an elective subject for people to choose only if they want to choose, and not make it a compulsory kind of an access in the medical curriculum? So, what is your flow of thought on this regard, Mel?
Well, I could tell you what the approach has been in general in medical education, and even if it's not AI. And so, in what I've witnessed happen in the last 3 decades is that when curriculums are deployed at US medical schools, they integrate any topic within organ systems. So, what invariably will happen here is that when the medical student is on learning the physiology of the heart and the pathology of the heart, they're going to just blend in the AI piece into there and so on. So that's for sure going to happen. There's no doubt. It's not, this is just how medical education is done in the US, is that they don't break it out into separate areas. They integrate it seamlessly, where you learn the anatomy of the heart, you learn the physiology of the heart, you learn the pathology, you learn the pharmacology of the heart. This is like the preferred approach to learning. And so I know that is what you will see happen. Now, on a separate note, what some places do is that for someone that wants to like ramp up their involvement with AI to the level that you and I are at, or anyone that has been on this podcast, they will have a separate type of a program that you could do. And what I mean by that is in one of the schools in Texas, they have it where you could choose to add an extra year to your training and basically get a one additional year of a master's degree that's where it's AI and medicine master's degree plus your medical school training. So you're going to see things like that already exists. One institution has that. So I think that there will be like the practical part of how to take care of a patient integrated into the organ systems teaching. But then those that want to become an expert like you and I are in AI specifically, there'll be a degree program of some kind. It might be a track, it might be a master's degree. It depends on the institution and what they're going to offer. But those who have what I would call the enthusiasm, or in people will often label themselves, for example, on their LinkedIn that they're an AI enthusiast. Those that are enthusiasts, which are a lot of the people that you collaborate with, they're gonna, in addition to the understanding it, they're going to want some advanced training and become an expert in it. And interestingly, what's happening in the US now is a lot of those people that are doing that advanced training to become an expert in it. And I'm not just talking about what you need to know to take care of a patient. Those that are really like going deep into it to be an expert like you and I are, many of those people are taking a job from a hospital or health system called Chief AI Officer, CAIO. And when we were at the Orlando conference, they spoke to that there's been a big movement in the last year that hospitals and health systems are now creating this position, Chief AI Officer. And so uh, I think there's going to be people that do these some type of advanced training, and then their time will be, p- half of their time will be patient care, and the other half will be in a leadership role for a hospital or health system as being an AI expert. That's kind of where things have emerged. So I think all medical students are going to have this core knowledge of AI and patient care, and then there's going to be those that want to actually do it professionally in a leadership role like you and I are doing. And those individuals will find and take like advanced coursework like what you're offering at your new organization. So there's a lot of routes and pathways to do that. There's not one standard approach to that. uh, so there's many pathways or roads. I think the important thing is try to educate yourself to the highest level you can. And I'm happy if anyone is taking the courses through Anthony's group, through your group, through what we're offering, through what Coursera offers, through what Emeritus offers. As long as you're doing something to educate yourself, I'm happy. I'm not advocating one over the other. I think a good approach is to do what I've done, is just take as many as you can and learn as much as you can and be active in more than one organization. So I'm trying to be engaged with your organization, not just my own. So
I think a very important message comes from you as the founder of the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine. And I hope our viewers get this very clear that AI education is something which is the need of the hour for medical professionals. So at Doctors AI, we have also thought that there should be a structured level of education. And like you rightly said, I completely echo with your thoughts that the basic AI education should be for every medical professional, the students, as well as the consultants and the specialists. And this is the level at which everyone should be trained on the basics of understanding the nuances of what is AI, how it works, the terminologies. Get yourself bilingual and understand the terminologies. There may be another category of education, as we call it, the proficient level of education, where you might just become not fully an expert, but a person who understands algorithms and is able to evaluate the algorithms and is able to take a look at it in terms of the medical point of view and look at its safety, its coherent, and its relevance. and start recommending it for usage in clinical practice or for patient use. So that may be one category, which is again, I would say 60 to 70% of medical professionals need to be at that level of proficient learning, the way AI is coming in healthcare. And the third category, Mel, is the expert level of AI education, which would be left for very few people because not everybody would want to take that kind of an expert level of training beyond their medical training, which you just spoke about, that integrated level of extra years of masters in AI. But they would be the people who would actually be building AI solutions for the healthcare domain with their medical expertise and medical knowledge. And I think that is going to be very, very important because I firmly believe, and I'm sure you would agree to this, that medical professionals, from their medical point of view, will be looking at artificial intelligence in a little different way than it is usually viewed from the technical point of view. Because the core of medical science is evidence, and we believe in evidence and research based medicine. And we will be building evidence and research based intelligence medicine with the layer of artificial intelligence. So we would be requiring that level of expertise from the experts in AI in the medical fraternity for that. So that's one structure of thought we have portrayed to our community members at Doctors AI, and we strongly believe that basic AI education is the need of the hour. The second important point which you made, I completely agree with you when you say that AI education should be integrated in the medical curriculum along with the subjects and go with the flow, which actually makes sense because it doesn't burden the medical students over and above what they need to learn with another subject to learn. And maybe there could be dedicated workshops that they can take at their comfort zone in the years of medical training, but the basic level of education gets imparted through the curriculum as in an integrated form. So, moving to the next part of the discussion, Mel, the one end we have AI education for medical professionals, and we have beautifully deciphered, what to learn, how to learn, and where to get started. The second aspect is using AI for delivering medical education. And I think this is also a segment that is evolving, and people are looking at augmented reality, virtual reality, and the use of simulations, the use of AI based learning module systems to kind of give a personalized learning experience to medical students in their years of medical training. What are your views on this, and how do you see the introduction of AI tools in the teaching module methodology of medicine evolve the medical education as a whole?
Right. So you bring up a very focused point, which is AI is, we view it as a tool to take care of patients, but as educators, we're viewing AI as a tool to do education specifically. And have spent more than 1 year working on this specific question that you ask about. So I wish I could give you a clean answer. This is a complex thing, but I'll try to simplify it in this regard. What is happening in the US is that each of the 130 medical colleges internally has formed a committee, and that committee is, it's almost like a silo, which is not necessarily a good thing. And the committee decides for their institution, how do we use AI tools to teach? Um, and then that committee, in this past fall, then has implemented it into the current entering class. It was done. Now, there are endless possible ways to do this, and no standardized way is being deployed. So, like you said, do you use VR goggles to teach surgery? Do you use an AI tutor to teach the students their core curriculum? So there's endless possibilities here, and so each institution is doing their own thing, but we have tried to at least get some collaborative effort. So I was on like you're hosting communities through MedSynapse. I was a member of a community that was on American Association of Medical Colleges called the Community for Artificial Intelligence and Medical Education, specifically. Very much like the communities you have on MedSynapse. So I joined that community, and lo and behold, I had many professors across the nation that were on this community. And so we worked together on this problem of how do you use AI as a tool to teach medical students? But better yet, that community connected me with, it's called American Association, or AMSA, American Medical Students Association. And so then the students in that organization, most of the leadership students, joined the faculty in our community through AAMC. And so we all have been collaborating on this. And when I say collaborating, we are defining what the options are, like different ways, like you described, to use AI to teach. And I'm not giving you the specifics because there's so many different ways. But what I can tell you is that this group of students and faculty together, we are going to publish very soon uh, all the different choices on the menu of what can you pick from that would be an AI tool to teach medical students. Uh, so I'm being vague. I'm not giving you specifics, but there's so many different ways and tools and things you could do. I just gave two simple examples, but about the VR for surgical training or the AI assistant for tutoring. But there's many, many things that could be done, endless possibilities. Uh, this has been a very exciting time for anyone that's in medical education or anyone that's in education, even not medical education, because anyone in education, whether it's grade school, college level, medical school level, anyone that's in education is trying in the last 2 years, or especially in the last 1 year, to use an AI tool to enable teaching. Uh, and so I'll turn it back to you, Amit.
So, one thing is for sure, Mel, learning should be fun. And in the era of artificial intelligence, it should be very, very personalized. And I'll tell you from my experience, Mel, and to all our viewers, whether the teachers adopt artificial intelligence in teaching or not, the students are already adapting artificial intelligence in the way they are learning medicine. So I can really see this change coming very, very fast. And like you mentioned about some of the examples, I keep telling our students in the medical colleges that the way you read a textbook is you turn through the pages, you memorize it, you try to draw a picture of that textbook in your mind, and then you try to extrapolate that kind of an image when you go out in the exam papers when you're answering it. A lot of it can be transformed now using generative AI and extractive AI. So the way you're reading a book can actually be transformed using generative AI and extractive AI and made much more fun and much more easy to grasp with much more nuanced understanding. One such example I'll tell you, this is something which we proposed and we encouraged our members at Doctors AI to do, is that we often are very interested in reading research papers, and it sometimes becomes very difficult because you're often with so much of clinical work and so much of reading to do already that you don't have a time to go through an entire paper. So why not convert that paper into an audio podcast and listen to it while you're driving or while you're relaxing? So that would be consuming the same content but in a different way and in a different with a different modality of kind of understanding it. So I think AI is going to help us do all that, whether it's augmented reality, virtual reality, simulated learnings, personalized LMS coming in, and picking up the individual's weak points and strengthening on those weak points with the help of more personalized questions and answers. And I think all that we are going to be seeing. But at the end of the day, what this should really do is that it should make medicine learning more fun and more engaging and more interactive and less mundane. I think that's something that artificial intelligence promises to bring. But before we do that, Mel, it's our responsibilities as community leaders, as advocates, that we educate the fraternity for the right way of using these tools, because there's always going to be that fine line of ethics that should not be crossed, and of how much it can be used by the students, by the learners, by the teachers. So I think that effective and the ethical and responsible AI use education is very important before we start implementing using AI in the methodology of medical education. But your point is well taken, and I really see that there is a lot of work that's going on there, and I'm sure collaboratively on this ground from Doctors AI as well as from the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine, together we can also bring up with some consensus and some sort of recommendations of how AI tools can be introduced into the medical educational format to improve the learning experience of medical students, not just in a specific country, but in the global spectrum as a whole. Well, moving on, fantastic insight so far from you, Mel, coming in. The next segment I wanted to understand is, we understand that for anything to have its concrete base in the field of medicine, there needs to be a lot of research that needs to go beyond behind it, and there needs to be the proper evaluation of that and a proper validation of that. Well, validation is one segment that will be done by the validating bodies, which can be the FDA, etc., who will be validating it. But it also needs a real time validation and evaluations by the end users, which in this case is a clinician or an individual who is using an AI tool. So, for an individual who is going to be an end user of an AI tool, let's say a clinical decision support system, for example, which has a lot of incorporation of generative AI, and now is the era of AI agents. So, you'll be finding a lot of AI agents being converted into clinical decision support system. So, let's say a individual, a doctor who is practicing, and he has to access a clinical decision support system. How much of a base education on the foundational knowledge of artificial intelligence is important for that individual, so that he can conduct the right kind of research and the right kind of evaluation of the tool before he can responsibly and I would say transparently implement the tool into his clinical practice, which will eventually make impact on his patient care? Where does the impact of that AI education come from your point of view?
Yeah, that's great. You know, I, there's a layer here that I want to throw out, and I'm going to circle back to this idea of the chief AI officer, because you or I will never get to pick the AI tool that we're going to use to care for a patient. We will never get to do that. Why? Because it's the system that we work under, usually a hospital. When I say a system, I mean a hospital, but hospitals are now even more a system. You know, there's clinics and hospitals that are part of a system. So, like in this, where I am in the Chicago area in Illinois, it's almost a monopoly in the sense that all the hospitals are like basically two big systems that have been bought out and and constantly get incorporated. So most of the doctors where I live work for, a handful of these big systems of like 10 or 15 hospitals, and those hospitals have, a clinic on every block, a big clinic on every block. So it's the CEOs or the C-suite people that oversee these systems that are going to purchase the access to one of the over 1,000 FDA algorithms that you and I could use to take care of a patient. So you and I aren't going to pick the 1,000 one of which one we're going to use. We're going to be working for a system, and that system will have to spend their resources to decide, of the 1,000 choices, which ones are they going to use, because many do the same thing. Like, maybe there's, I'll just make up a number, maybe there's 50 systems that all can read a pulmonary nodule on an x-ray, but your hospital will buy one of those 50, so they're going to have to pick one. So we will have to work with whatever our hospital or health system has paid for to have access to in terms of these AI algorithms for patient care. So it's important for you and I to know about whether one is better than the other, so we should educate ourselves. But in the end, the chief AI officer is probably going to have to be the one who decides which one the hospital is going to use and purchase. And then if we work under that hospital, that's the one we're going to have access to for that problem. Um, so the good news there is the person making that decision point will have very advanced training in AI like you and I have. But more importantly, this is where the silo idea comes around, which is if each hospital does that on their own and they're in a silo, that's not good. So Duke has created a non for profit called CHAI or CHI. And so the idea is all the university health systems in the nation here will all pool their knowledge about the algorithms that they're deploying and testing, and that could help guide you and me and everyone as to which ones are better or worse and how did they perform if once they were actually used. So it's that kind of collaborative effort amongst different academic centers working together, pooling the data, pooling the knowledge of once they start using an algorithm, whether how did it perform. It's that kind of work on a leadership level, and you and I are, every day we're connecting with these type of leaders across the world that are trying to create a collaborative approach. So it's not really so much the one individual doctor knowing about AI. In this case, it's more how our hospitals and health systems that all of thousands of doctors work for, how are they like being responsible about using we call responsible AI, right? And then with that, there's the guardrails. There's there here in the States we have the FDA that's overseeing some of that. The European Union does the same. I'm not sure what goes on in Asia by you guys, but the important point is everyone in leadership, everyone in leadership is trying to be responsible with using AI for patient care. But more importantly, you and I are trying to educate doctors so they're knowledgeable about how to use AI for patient care. And I really admire what's going on in leadership worldwide to try to like make sure we do this in a way that's to the patient's best interest. But in the end, it circles back to your theme for today's topic or podcast, which is how do we educate doctors about all of this? Because they didn't go through medical school learning it. And even the ones in medical school, the medical schools are still trying to figure out how to do all of this as well. So I think as long as you're doing something to educate yourself, I'm happy. This week in JAMA, for those who are listening, if you want some perspective on what Dr. Day just asked about, look at this week's JAMA. There's a nice discussion by the guy from Duke who it has this chai organization, and there's also a really nice article by one of the physicians that works for the FDA on the regulation piece. But these are the individuals that are trying to like solve the question you answered, which is how does a doctor know which of these AI algorithms to use and how do they get educated about it? So again, I feel like that's a broad stroke at your question, but maybe you want to speak to the specifics of that.
No, I totally echo with what you said. Is that with education we will be actually having better knowledge of choosing what's right and what's best in the best interest of the patient. Often you may not be given the choice, but at least it opens up the window of using an AI tool in a transparent way, or asking the question that whether it's being applied in a transparent way. That kind of prevents the silo that you have been speaking about. If it's always gets channeled in a unilateral direction, at the end of the day, the end users is going to be as clinicians. as practitioners. So the knowledge, the education is important, and as advocates like ourselves, it's important that we close this knowledge gap and this information gap, and we try to educate them as much as possible about how the tool is working and what is the reason for this output coming out in this direction, and what's the benefit and the this and that of that particular tool. They may not have the options all the time to choose from, but at least they know the thin and thick part of it and use it with a more informed decision on their patients and clinical use. Well, it's also important that AI education in the medical fraternity opens the whole arena of artificial intelligence like an open source to the medical fraternity. So it should be an open secret where doctors as clinicians have the options and the right to choose, if they have the opportunity to choose, of how they want to use it and how much they want to implement it into their practice. And that's going to come with the knowledge, with the technology education, understanding the nuances and the practical applications of it, having an idea about the guardrails as you spoke about, and most importantly, understanding the ethical operations of these AI tools, especially if you talk about the language models, the large, the medium, the small language models, the ethical deployment and the ethical operations of these tools. And the most important part of it, Mel, is as doctors, as clinicians, we have taken the Hippocrates Oath, and we have always said that the first thing that a doctor should do is do no harm. So we must live by that, and we must ensure that the tool that we are using is, if not doing anything better, it should do no harm to the patient. So that will come with education and that will come with knowledge. I totally echo with you on that. The next little bit part of a understanding I wanted to have from you is on research, and as I understand is that as an advocate of AI in the college, you have also created specific wings who are working on individual research labs on different specialties. How important you think is the importance of AI research by the medical fraternity for over the layer of AI education for the right deployment of AI in the healthcare, and the viewpoint of the college as well?
Well, absolutely. So we have two basic arms to what we do. One is the educational arm, which I talked about at length for students, residents, and faculty. And you do the same in that regard. Thank you for that. And then we have a very robust research arm, and with teams that are within every specialty. For example, cardiology, pulmonary critical care, nephrology. You're actually leading the AI and diabetes group, and thank you for doing that. So we really do have teams within every area of medicine that do the research piece. I think by joining a research group like we offer, it actually elevates your level of education because you become an expert, at least in the area you're researching. And so I think educationally it's very good. Um, but in the end, I th- my message is this: that there's currently over 1,000 FDA approved algorithms that you could
Yes.
use to take care of a patient, but what we need is evidence-based research about these things. Like, we wouldn't give a pill to someone if we didn't do a randomized trial, but I don't think doctors recognize that there's like essentially 1,000 pills. They're not pills, they're algorithms. But before you give it, I would hope you would want to just randomize trial some science around it, because we would demand that for a medicine. So why wouldn't we demand that for these AI algorithms if we're going to use them to treat a patient? So that's kind of my perspective of why we need the research piece. Um, so if anyone's interested in that research piece, they certainly could reach out to me. Uh, but I think if you look on PubMed right now and you type in the words artificial intelligence and blank, let's say in your case, what you're doing with our group is diabetes, you're going to get thousands and thousands of articles in just in the last year, and it's an amount. It's so massive what's happening right now. It's exponential. It's like nothing we've ever seen in our lifetimes, and there's no way that any one physician can keep up with this. And so, I I think it's really important that we try to put our energy into, if we're going to study something in medicine now, look at how AI applies to it, like in your case, diabetes, uh, because that's really where all the problem solving that you're going to see in the next few decades of solving unsolvable things, say, for example, in diabetes care, all the breakthroughs, all the improvements are going to be using AI as a tool to help a patient with that. So this is why I'm just spending 100% of my time on that. How do we use AI to solve the problems of medicine that have never been solvable? And we saw that in this year's Nobel Prizes, that, speaking to the question of research, the Nobel Prize awards reflect what is viewed as the most important things, developments in research. Essentially, AI solutions were what the Nobel Prizes were about. So uh, protein folding, from AI for DeepMind, Google DeepMind, and protein folding, and that was a Nobel Prize right there, and that's going to lead to endless drug discoveries in ways that you and I can't even imagine, like amazing treatments that will save patients in every disease imaginable just from this one research thing on protein folding using AI. So, uh, again, I'm just giving kind of a big picture. Like, if anybody wanted to drill down one specific area, I'm happy to do so. But my best advice to anyone out there is just go on PubMed and type in artificial intelligence and any disease you're interested in, and you will be blown away at what has been published in the last year and what is possible. Uh, so, hopefully that answers your question about the research piece, but I'm thrilled that you are embracing this idea of doing some AI and diabetes research with us. And I'll turn it back to you, Amit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I strongly echo with your thoughts here that research and weaving the research and the science behind any intelligent system will be the key to its best adoption in the field of healthcare. So, Mel, in the world of technology, they say it's from data to information to intelligence. I would say that in the world of medicine, it is data to information, but then you have to add a layer of evidence for it to become intelligent medicine. So I think it is our responsibilities as clinicians, as practitioners, as academicians, and researchers, as frontline patient caregivers or healthcare workers, whatever we call ourselves, to weave the science and the research behind these intelligence systems that we call it as machine learning or machine intelligence for it to be effectively deployed in healthcare. So, a strong appeal to all our friends out there, our members of the Doctors AI community, and all our viewers of the MedAI podcast. And I must tell you, Mel, that this is not just viewed here in India, but across in different parts of the globe, in the Middle East, and even in the US. We have a fantastic viewership of this podcast. So, an appeal to all of you, get yourselves with the AI education, start somewhere. I think it's important that you start. How much is not important, that you start is more important. Be curious to adapt and adopt to what AI can bring in, but at the same time, be ready to weave the nest of research around the AI that you will be working with so that the right evidence comes up. And maybe tomorrow we can have some RCT on the AI tool before implementing that into our practice. And that's a very important statement that Mel made, that he said, that there has to be real world evidences, trials, RCTs coming up before we start using them for effective in practice in our day-to-day clinical work. I think we had a fantastic podcast today, Mel, and we covered the whole nuances of how artificial intelligence education is the key to healthcare professionals. Their knowledge gap is important, and that needs to be addressed. And then we also spoke about how we can actually start using AI tools in imparting medical education in the medical colleges. We spoke about the importance of the levels of AI education in the medical professionals and the importance of research. Well, before we end, as I said, this is a podcast that's viewed by people across the globe. So we have a couple of questions that keeps coming to us from our viewers. So I'll have a question that has been asked by one of our wing leader, Dr. Anirudh, and he has been very actively working as a student wing leader in Doctors AI, and he says that should there be any specific strategies like micro learning modules or curated AI trend summaries or adaptive learning platforms that the American College recommends to streamline this process of AI education in the medical curriculum and help healthcare educators, medical educators, integrate it seamlessly into their workflow of medical education. I think you answered that briefly during that, but your one pointer on how this can be integrated as a visionary statement coming in from the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine.
If I were the student that you mentioned, I would find creative ways to use a large language model like ChatGPT in my day-to-day uh, studying as well as patient care. I think that's what students are doing,
Yes.
and we don't have to tell them how to do it. They're just going to do it. So if you're not using chat gpt throughout the day, and you're missing the boat. So I know if you were to survey students right now, if you had a room full of students and said, how many of you are using chat gpt for your education today, they're all going to raise their hand. We don't have to, you and I don't have to like give them some way to do it. They're doing it. So I think the part that I know that this was a student question, but the students are going to just do it. They're on autopilot. The part that you and I really have to work on is the practicing physician. And so that's kind of the focal point. So I do want to say that if you liked what you heard today and you want to really go deep into these things, especially the evidence based, uh, I'm gonna give a shameless plug for our scientific session. It's September 19th and 20th in Chicago. That's a Friday, Saturday at McCormick Place, which is the largest conference center in the USA. And the entire 2-day session is purely evidence based medicine uses for AI and patient care within every subspecialty. So, but that's for the adult learner. The students, they're going to do it with ChatGPT or whatever LLM. Actually, the students that I teach, the residents that I teach, I surveyed them. They all said they're using a large language model every single day, but they're not using ChatGPT. They're using another one. It's called Open Evidence, which is a more evidence-based medicine large language model. So just use it. That's the answer. Use it every day. I do, you do. But that's really the message, that if you are listening to this and you're not using a large language model throughout the day, then you need to, because that's how you're going to really you find a way to implement AI into your both your education about medicine as well as caring for the patient. But if I need to look something up about a patient now, I'm going to be using the large language model to provide that to me instantaneously. And if so, I know that students and resident doctors are just, they're all doing it. 100% of them are doing it. But the work that you and I need to do is the adult learner, those who are in practice. That's where the challenge lies. And that's where the need for a professional society like Doctors AI, like our college, that's where the professional society, their whole mission is to do the lifelong learning for those who are no longer in training but have to learn new things that are coming out. So really the answer lies there. And so thanks for the great work you have done through worldwide on trying to educate practicing physicians on how to really be knowledgeable about AI. I'm really impressed with everything that you've done in the last year, and it's truly inspirational, Amit. It's truly inspirational. Thank you for all of that.
So, folks, you need to mark the dates. It's 17th, it's 19th and 20th of September at Chicago. That's where you need to be if you want to kind of really get yourself hooked into AI education. And I'm sure Mel and team will be putting up a fantastic 2 days of exciting content on AI and healthcare, and specifically AI and medicine. And like myself, I'm sure many of our colleagues from India are also looking forward to that conference that you will be hosting, Mel. And we wish you all the best. And we look forward to that successful, fantastic academic extravaganza that's going to be coming up in September. So, we had a fantastic hour of discussion with Dr. Melvin Speisman, the founder president of the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine. And before we close, I want to promise everyone that's watching that across the globe, Doctors AI and the American College of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine, with the support of our dear friend Dr. Melvin, we will be working hand in hand towards improving AI literacy amongst the healthcare and the medical fraternity, starting from students, undergraduate, and postgraduate levels to residents, registrars, as well as specialist consultants and senior clinicians. So we won't let anybody, go off the hook. We'll make sure that you know what's coming ahead of you and how the whole domain of healthcare is going to get transformed with the right, responsible, effective, and ethical use of artificial intelligence. Mel, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a fantastic discussion, and we look forward to many more sessions and discussions with you in the future. Thank you for your time. And with this, I would like to hand it back to Hitvi for the closing comments. Thank you, everyone, for joining in, and we will see you very soon in the upcoming podcast that's coming up in February. Hitvi?
Thank you so much, Dr. Melvin and Dr. Amit Kumar for sharing your expertise and incredible insights with us. And Dr. Melvin, your journey in bridging academic medicine with artificial intelligence is truly inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing those. And I'd also like to thank our audience for joining in for this podcast. And let me tell you that your support drives us to bring you thought-provoking discussions with some of the brightest minds in AI and healthcare. So, thank you all once again for tuning in. And here's to a year of innovation, growth, and collaboration in healthcare. So, until next time, stay curious and stay inspired. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night. Bye bye.